Well, hello. This is Ted Valentine of the TV Teddy podcast. 43 Division One basketball seasons. I've spent 3/4 of my life on the hardwood. And with me now is my co-host, Wendell Daniels out of San Antonio, Texas. He's an ex-basketball official. He and I are the same age. And what I'd always tell Mr. Birch, welcome to the Old Negro Spirituals. Okay. So we're going to tell you some things about college basketball that you probably didn't know. And we're going to try to enlighten you. We're going to try to educate you about the name of the game, where we're going with this game, and what we see. This is what we see. We're not haters. We need to tell the truth because John says the truth shall make you free. And we are the type that we're going to tell you. And we realize that some of you aren't going to like what we say. And really, to be honest, we don't give a damn. Okay. So, Wendell, you can start this off with us.
Yeah, we want to finish off Black History Month. This being the last day, we want to talk about actually the DEI within the game, which we feel is holding officials of color back. I've seen over 26 years of doing this, I've seen officials work their behinds off and end up basically with nothing. So there is some sort of logjam that the talented official of color is just not getting past because there's blockage there. And we know what the blockage is. There's no doubt about it. There's no sugarcoating it. We know that it has to do with race. I was watching a game a few seconds ago, and there was big game. There wasn't a black official on the floor, but there were 8 black players on the floor. So there needs to be some sort of balance somewhere that sort of promotes that official that's climbing the ladder to prominence. And if that blockage stays there, there will be no prominence for that black official. He would basically just dissipate in the system. He would just be lost in the sauce. So we're trying to find a way to get voice out there to say, why is this still continuing? And that's the portion. The portion is not that it happened. It's still continuing. When do you, so to speak, take the foot off the neck and let people prosper? And we feel in the officiating rim, we're not doing that because there's blockage and there's just, again, there's a system that just wants what they want out there, and that's holding people back. And you may lose quality officials of color because they get frustrated. I hear things like politics. Well, yeah, it's politics. It's racial politics. And I'm not, if it's a gut shot, it's a gut shot. But if I can't say what I have to say, there's no sense of being on this podcast. This needs to stop. And we need to open the doors of opportunity so all will be involved instead of, well, he had his chance. Well, how many chances did he get? Did he get 1? Did he get 2? Did he get chances as his counterpart, Caucasian official, who's at times may have 7 chances, may have some sort of criminal act in his bag, but he gets the chances. We need to we need to get past this, and we need to stop looking at it like, well, I'm tired of hearing this race thing. Well, if you do something about it, you will no longer hear about it. We need to move forward. We need to find a better way. As you say, it's not all about you. It's all about us. And when I say us, I say collectively, the officials who work the games. We should see better balance. We're not seeing better balance. You turn on any game and you might see, if you're lucky to see a black official. When I say black official, I mean official of color, whether he's Asian, whether he's Latino. We need to see more inclusion with our officiating because it means something. It's more ingredients to it. But if we're not out there, then you know the game is what it's always been, and it will always be that way. It's unfair. I think it's unfair for the officials. So I'll leave it. I'll push it back to Ted and let him finish on because this, like I said, this goes down into levels why this is happening.
Wendell, I need to ask you this question.
Yeah,
You were a military person in the
right.
Air Force. Did race play a part when you were military at times? Did it really?
Race race played a part, and I'll tell you how I got into the military based on you asking that question. Um, the late Daniel General 4-star General Chappie James um, said in an interview, he said there will be no racism in my Air Force, and I joined. That was a sentence that made me join. Now, to go to your question, when I got in, I immediately saw racism. I saw people being promoted that should have never been considered. So it's there. It's there. So race does play a part in the military, but they have policies and procedures that sort of say we're not having that. And they try to do a good job, but they have improved, and they have improved more than any other industry that we have. But yes, racism is just like it's like pollution. Once you let it out the pipes, it just spreads and it spreads and everybody gets a whiff of it. The thing that bothers me with racism is not racism. It's racism that's ignored.
Okay.
And we had that in our field. And like I
Okay.
said, to answer your question, yes, there's still some in the military. They basically promote towards what you look like, what they project of you, and who should be in charge. I've seen two sergeant majors who were black uh, sergeant majors, and they basically were the lead NCOs in the Army. I seen them try to get him out of there. When they got they were twins. They got the brother who was the lead. They got him into some sort of scandal, and then they turned around, and his brother, who was second to him, took his place, and immediately sexual harassment charge came out of nowhere to move him. Yes, there's racism in the military. It's still there, but like I said, it's more control, and they're trying to do things about it. Now, the current administration is doing some things that's sort of setting that back. But to answer your question, yes, we do. We still had that there. It's still there.
Okay. Okay. Well, yesterday, I didn't explain to the viewers or the listeners. I read off a list of officials that has won the Naismith Award. And yesterday I did mention it's called the Naismith Award. That's oversight on my part. That's my mistake on my part. So we're bringing this podcast to you because we feel at times our history is being buried. Now, CRT, critical race theory, we're being buried. Okay. And we shouldn't be buried because we've had a lot of contribution to America. We have in the sports, in the world. We've had plenty. You know, one lady told LeBron James he was, saying something. He was kind of, I don't know, disenchanted or whatever. He was expressing himself, and the lady told him, "Why don't you just dribble? Won't you just dribble?" Well, I'm here to say I blew the whistle. Now you're going to hear our voices
Right.
because our voices can promote change. Okay. It took George Floyd getting killed And all of a sudden, we got a black national anthem. We got a black national anthem. We're going to give them something. Well, we don't want you just giving us something. Okay. We're gonna earn what we have. Okay. We're not part of the DEI. We're not part of the diversity, equity. We're not part of the inclusion. Give us, give us what we deserve.
Yeah.
You gave us 1 month out of the year, February. We get one extra day in case we get February 29th. It's a leap year. And there's been a lot of things that have taken place. And I want to clear up about yesterday about the top award is given to a college basketball referee is a Naismith Award. Eric Hoberman has done an outstanding job. And I'm going to have some talks with Eric about changing some of the guidelines about receiving this award. We need to go back in time and get some of these people that should be honored. We need to go back in time and get some of these people. I'm a voting member, and every year somebody's always send me a text: vote for this guy, vote for this guy, vote for this guy, vote for this guy. We politicize stuff too much. Let's just honor people for what they deserve. And I have a list of the Naismith Award winners since 1988. And I'm going to give you this list of them. The first person of color to win the Naismith Award is for the most outstanding official during that year. The coordinators of officials always voted on it. Okay. Now we have the officials voting on it. And I don't see anything wrong with that, but we need to get it back on the coordinator's hand, because it gets to be, why can't we have a secret ballot? Just like you get in line on election day, you vote for somebody, that's nobody's business. Okay. So why don't we get back to that? Eric has done a fantastic job. He's out of Atlanta. He does a fantastic job. The first recipient is 1992 and is Dr. Eddie Hightower. Okay. 1999, Jay Botello. 2000, Jill Butra. 2002, Larry Rose. 2005, yours truly, Ted Valentine. 2010, Tony Green. 2023, Michael Stevens. And 2024, the late Reggie Koufer, who was a friend of all of us. Now, out of 37 years, we only have 8 blacks. And I know Dr. James Naismith invented the game of basketball in 1891. We don't understand how basketball got around. It got around. It got delivered from country to country by the missionary people. So it's more of a church type thing than you would ever know. And we're profiting from it. Okay, we're using it to elevate people through it. That was what the full intent of Dr. James Naismith in 1891 in Springfield, Massachusetts. This wasn't his thing. That wasn't why he invented the game. See, a lot of you have to know the history behind stuff. Okay. And we will bring you some true stuff that we've either researched it, we've either looked it up, and we either read about it. Some of the following black officials need to be on this list: Jimmy Howe, David Libby, Charlie Range, Tommy Rucker. We have people, they're using their money, their influence, their politicking to get on this list. When we got this, we weren't one-hit wonders. We worked several Final Fours to get on this list. Okay? Now we're just giving it away. And it's okay that we run out of people, and it's okay. But I would ask that the Naismith Award Committee would go back and reevaluate the rules, and we need to add the people that I named on this so that their history is recognized, what they've done for college basketball. And let me tell you one thing that you probably don't know about is you probably don't know about Jimmy Howe. Well, I can tell you about Jimmy Howe. I used to work in the Southern Conference with Jimmy Howe and Mr. Birch when I first got into Southern in 1983. Mr. Birch was always a recipient, or Jimmy Howe was the winner of the Silver Shirley Award, the Golden Whistle Award. They gave it to the top official that of that year was the best official in the Southern Conference. But let me tell you some news about Jimmy Howe that I didn't know. And I got asking myself was, we're leaving somebody out. We're leaving somebody out. Well, let me tell you about Jimmy Howe. Jimmy Howe is the son of a Union Station porter. If you don't understand what a porter is, we used to carry y'all's bags on the train, okay? We would bring you around a ham and cheese sandwich, ham and cheese, okay? Ham and cheese. We were like waiters. He came up the tough way on the playgrounds of Northeast, and he played basketball at John Carroll High School well enough to win a scholarship to American University. Howe was a backcourt teammates with Will Jones, should I say. I wasn't anything tremendous, says Howe. He's being very humble. He was barely 6 feet tall. I was a hustler. I did what needed to be done to win. After college, as a struggling graduate student, Howe earned spending money by refereeing basketball games in Washington summer leagues. A teacher in the D.C. public schools since 1964, Howe also has worked as an official for more than 2 decades, approved basketball officials. One day, a well-known coach asked him if he'd like to referee college games. I thought he was just somebody running off at the mouth, is what Howe said. See, he's being very humble. But I sent in the application anyway. The rest is history. Although it was slow history, for 6 years, Jimmy labored in basketball's vineyards, youth leagues, junior high school games, finally high school games. Then in 1968, he got his first college assignment, 1968. I got it because I was good, because I was lucky, and because I was black, says Howe. They desperately needed black officials then, and they still need them now. There are still only about 40 working in the major college conferences. That's back then. Because we got more blacks, but they're on the History Channel, and you got to go to the TV set to find them on the Discovery Channel, and you might see them in Egypt refereeing basketball games around the Sphinx. So that's where you see blacks now. Okay, probably. Okay. I was still the only black to work in the NCAA final. But Howe was not glad to be black when he showed up for his first assignment, Furman versus Clemson in Clemson, South Carolina. If you know anything about South Carolina, it was notorious back then. It was notorious. And knowing Jimmy Howe, he may have been the only black in the gym. There were about 15,000 faces in the stands, and maybe 2 of them were black. I just looked around and said, God almighty. I didn't blow the whistle for the first 6 minutes. I was so scared. And the reason why he was so scared is because he didn't know what the other people would do to him. He didn't know. See, he put his life in his own hand. He may not have returned back to Washington, D.C. In 1973, Howe received a lucrative offer from the NBA, but he turned it down so he could continue as a principal and teacher. He sacrificed for his family or whatever. And in 1976, he quit. Jimmy Howe, the first black man to officiate an NCAA basketball championship game, quit refereeing in the middle of the season. He had been an official for 13 years and was only 35 at the top of his profession. Howe quit after he worked the Maryland, North Carolina game, which the Tar Heels won 95-93. In the last seconds, a Maryland player tripped over a Carolina player on a fast break. No foul was called. Maryland coach Lefty Driesell charged Howe's partner. The Maryland fans shouted obscenities at the refs. It all just kind of got to me, he said. All the grief and the travel. And my wife was raising our two boys all by herself. Howe was talked into coming back as a part timer the next year. The status brings him an average of 30 games a season. As a full timer, he used to work 60. It's more fun when there are less games, Howe said. Jimmy Howe was combined his officiating hobby with his job as a principal at Taft Junior High School. And I remember him telling that story. In Northeast Washington, he's been very good at both, always stressing the difference in his vocation and avocation. Before he became principal, he worked NCAA Final Four championship games in 1974, championship game in 75 and 78. And a lot of you guys don't know this. They were two-person games. The last Final Four game was the Virginia-North Carolina semifinal in 1982. But he is still regarded as one of the top officials in the game. Howe once served as a president of Washington area chapter of the International Association of Approved Basketball Officials. But for true professions, his rewards, Howe looked towards life at Taft. These kids were where I measured myself, Howe said. Refereeing was just a way to give back something to the game I love. As far as I'm concerned, he is all-time history. And we need to go back and we need to bring him forward and we need to honor him. And I didn't know this. And I just happened to say, well, who was the black official that worked the national championship game? And it was Jimmy Howe. And he told me that a long time ago. And we're not asking you to erase our history. We're asking you to recognize people of color. Recognize people of color. You know, we want advancement. We don't want anything given to us.
Yeah, Ted, let me come in on that. We have these things that have been called affirmative action programs, and now they have the DEI program. People need to understand the difference. There's a difference. The DEI means you are qualified for the job. It's a guardrail to make sure that you have at least access to opportunity. You're not being given anything. You're probably more than qualified. And this is where some of our officials like Jimmy Howe has fallen into. He's more than qualified. He should have been recognized years ago. And I think the best thing that we can do, just like anything else, is like the Hall of Fame voting. We can go back and get it. We can go back and say, this is what you deserve. This is what you earned. And you may not have gotten it at the time that you deserved to have received it. But there's no way that we can sit here and not give it to you now, knowing your history and your accomplishments. Your endeavors are huge for African American and people of color officials. So we can go back and say, hey, why not? We do it all the time. We posthumously give people awards. We have votes where people get certain awards 20 years after the fact, but they still get them because they're earned. So what it comes down to, it's part of this thing that we were saying, the lack of inclusion is that you're not treating your elements of the game properly or equally. And that's the problem. That's the problem we still have. It's almost like instead of trying to suppress, why don't you express? Put the truth out there. I mean, right now, there's something currently happening in Philadelphia where they took the African-American slave art down from Washington's structure house there that had history in it. there are a lot of white people that are fighting to get that history up because if you look at it, the favorite subject besides money in this country is history. And when you lose your history, you lose guidelines, you lose all direction. Where did you come from? Your history speaks for that. So we need to get past that. We can still honor those who deserve to be honored. We do it all the time. Why not go to it? Why not do it? What is it going to hurt? Somebody doesn't want somebody to receive something because they don't think that they deserve it when they have. You're not studying the man. You're not studying the accomplishments and everything. You're just in a form using suppressive hate to keep everybody quiet, and we don't need that today. And that will set this country back far. Like I said, I was very, very happy to see the reaction of some of our counters, our Caucasian brothers and sisters that were fighting for that art exhibit to be placed back up. And so they were outraged that you can do that. And once you start doing that, you'll do it to other things, and it'll stop happening more and more, and then we lose sight of things. But yeah, Jimmy Howe needs to be rewarded. He needs to be put up on that bracket with those
Right.
great officials.
Right.
There's no doubt about it. And the only thing
Absolutely.
that stops us is the hate or the suppression of what
Right.
he's done. And it would be a shame for all he has accomplished to not be recognized. But how
Right.
can you recognize anybody else
Right.
for anything that has done less? I mean, the guy's a pioneer. So we need to. That's why you're hearing the voices, and there will be no punches pulled on it. It's racism that held him out of that selection process. But now we need to get back to correct it. We can correct it.
See, Wendell, I look over down this Naismith Award and everybody's name on here. I officiated with them on the court except two guys. From 1998, Joe Forte, I officiated for with most of the people, and they earned it. They earned their award. They earned their award. Now, there's a few people on the award, and I hate to be this way. They let politics enter into it. They let their money influence in it. You had the referee, supposedly, you had the referee a Final Four. Okay. I, I, and there's no I in team, but there's a such word as Kobe Bryant always says, there's a word called me in there. Okay. And I had to work 6 Final Fours before I even got recognized. Now we're just giving it to people because we all had a mother, a father, a sister, or brother that was going to die or die. And we're doing the political thing of putting them there so their family can see. Hey, everybody else on that list, they had somebody die too. Okay.
Mhm.
However, however, the 8 blacks, we had to work for what we got. Reggie Koufer wasn't honored until he died.
Yeah.
I'd like to see Reggie Koufer receive his award when he was living. Okay. When he was living, because he deserved it. He put his time in. He came from nowhere. Okay. Just because you got influence and you got influence with other people, and you knew Alexander Graham Bell's great grandson, and you're getting on the phone, and people getting on the phone and they're politicking for such award. And when you look at everybody else has earned theirs. We've earned our award. We earned it. And I know it sounds like hate, but we have to call it for what it is. We're not asking you to give us anything. Put us side by side. Let us work. Let the chips fall where they may fall. That's how we were
Yeah,
brought up. Okay.
exactly.
I was brought up, I had to be 3 times better to get somewhere. I couldn't be even because you wasn't going to get nowhere. And the scales always went one way. And
Yeah, and I
I like
and
to,
I won't
yeah.
I don't mean to cut you off there, but I wanna speak on what you just said right there. The fact that you have to do 3 times more to get 1 step ahead, it shows you the unfair. I would be ashamed if I was on the other side of that accepted that. That I accepted that someone who has, put the wheels to the tracks and they don't get the proper rewards for it that they earned, not given, earned. You go out there and you work. We know we don't have to sit here and promote or take up or make excuses or whatever for black officials who didn't earn their award. There are black officials that earned that award, at least the opportunity to be nominated for that award, and they just been denied. But like I said, there's levels to it because it starts at a lower level. And when the official is working through these levels to reach at least a part-time Division I official, uh, a lot of times they're blocked. There's some sort of excuse. Well, we have a lot of officials. Well, he's ahead of you, and he's been through this program. Tell me where I stand based on the merits of what I do.
Right.
You know, I've been to schools refereeing, and you have too, Ted. I've been to schools for out of 26 years that I placed on the floor. I've been to school about 23 of those years. Every summer. And not just one school, multiple schools. Seeing things, seeing the unfairness, but trying to absorb the information, the education that they were putting out there and going from there. But I knew that it was going to be a hard road. And it was a hard road because they put in who they felt looked good for the game, who they felt was right for the game, or the standard of what they thought was right for the game. And again, that leaves many of us out, which leads us to guys like Jimmy Howe, who, if we see him not get breaks after the tracks that he laid, what the heck are we doing? What the heck can we do? Because probably 92% of us is not going to have that Jimmy Howe career. He's a pioneer. He's a one-timer. He's a one-time GOAT official. So we're not going to reach that level, and we can't reach that level because, again, we have people who want to block and suppress the actions of those who have put the grindstone to the track. So we sort of lose it right there, and it's unfair. And now that I see it, I'll call it out. And to me personally, the silence from those who see this that won't say anything, you are extremely complicit
Right.
because you're not helping the issue. You see
Right.
unfairness and you say nothing. Well, people
Right.
have people have really died behind that,
Right.
until they come for you,
Right.
and then it's a problem.
Right.
So the silence that our counterparts in basketball that won't say anything. When I say counterparts, I don't mean to make separation here. I say our counterparts in white officials.
Right.
When you see it happen and you don't even question it, it's bad.
Right.
And it's a reflection of probably times of what you really want. But I can't be around people being discriminated against and treated unfairly. That goes against my very
Right.
fiber. I I
Right.
I, I dislike it.
Right.
I see this racism, and I have brought it up with supervisors of officials. Why? Why is this happening? And I
Right.
get the standard line, well, we got numbers and blah, blah, blah. You got numbers, you got good officials,
Right.
and there's no good blend.
Right.
You can't pick our 10 officials, pick 9 whites and 1 black.
Right.
That's ridiculous on its face.
Right. Right.
It's an insult that, you're not giving chance, and you're saying it right there without saying it. You're not giving chance. So, or should I say opportunity? So we need to, and we have time. We can clean this up. This needs to be cleaned up. This needs to be cleaned up. And if you have frowns on your face because I said it, it needs to be cleaned up. It's not right. So, and I will never back off of that, because this is what I see in out of my lifetime, 60, 67. I see this all the time. And it's through every institution that we have. Some not as bad. Some are doing things about it. Some are writing it into law that you can't do certain things. But why are we at this point where we have to write procedures and laws for this when we don't have to do it for that?
Right.
To me, it just makes no sense.
Well, you know what? I've been around 43 seasons, and I told you at the opening that I spent 3/4 of my life on the basketball court. And of all the years that I've worked, I've only heard one person ever tell me this. I gave you this, I gave you that, I gave you this. You sound like, and I'm not trying to put them down, you sound like a female that you're ready to break up with them.
Mm-hmm.
They want to take all the stuff back.
Yeah.
When I hear people, and I've had people tell me that, one person, you never gave me anything because I don't want you to give me anything.
Mm-hmm.
I want to earn everything that I've gotten. We're not asking you to give us something. We're not asking you something. We want a fair, equal opportunity to compete for it. That's how we are. Okay. And you need to understand, we're not asking you to give us anything. Just give us a little slice of the pie that we worked hard on the floor to earn. That's all we're asking. I'm not asking you to give anything, but we have to go back and we need to recognize history in the past and bring these people forward somehow, because that would show us as human beings and as supervisors that let's think about the history. Okay. I mentioned the other day, we've only had 2 black supervisors, 2 coordinators, Power 5 conference, Joe Boudreaux in 2005, Booker Turner, Pac-10. I officiated with both of them, worked for both of them. And you mean to tell me there's an imbalance in basketball? There's an imbalance. I know Dr. James Naismith invented the ball, and he spread it around the countries. But if you look at the history of what basketball is supposed to be, it was missionaries that took it around the country. It's supposed to have been a church thing. It's supposed to have been a godly thing. And we're taking advantage of a godly thing. And one of the pastors always used to say, will a man rob God? And that's what we're getting right now.
Mm-hmm.
And just go back in history and just honor these people. Honor these people. Get out of the political process. I realize everything is political. I get it. I've never mixed in that role. I mean, if I got something to tell you, I'm going to tell you. You may not like it how I'm going to tell you, but I'm going to tell you because I was born April 6, 1958. And I remember the marches people had. I remember them cutting hoses loose and dogs loose. I remember my mother pointing up at the restroom, and I want to use the restroom, and you can't go in there. Okay? I remember that. Let's don't erase our history of people that have come through and earned their way. Let's bring them people forward. because you'll be doing service. You'll be doing a godly service. And what I say about basketball, it's supposed to have been a godly thing. It's supposed to be. Some of you need to do your history, because what we do is we use things that make us feel good, makes us feel good. And sometimes you got to see the people. You have to see the people, and you need to come and see the people. The names that I read you are outstanding people. Outstanding people. They made a contribution to basketball, and we need to back up. And I'll say their name one more time. We need to go back, honor Jimmy Howe while he's still living. We need to honor David Livy, Charlie Range, and Tommy Rucker. We need to. Well, folks, we're going to give Wendell the last word, and then we're going to sign off. Wendell, we're going to give it to you. You've lived. You and I are the same age, and we've been around. We're going to throw it back to you.
Yeah, I just always had a problem seeing people treated unfairly. Black, white, Asian, Hispanic. When I see someone treated unfairly, I'm offended by that. And my thing is, it just shows me a point of being inferior. When you try to hold somebody back, there's something about being inferior about that, because you're blocking a passage that people can move forward to. So when you think about, things should be this way because that's the way they've always been. Well, no, our medicine's better. Do you want to go back to the old ways of cutting someone and pouring alcohol in it just to keep them subdued? No, we have new medicines and more people are living because we move forward. We don't stay in the past. Suppression is to me, is this country's problem. Why would you suppress? Why would blacks go out and suppress Native American history when you're part of it? Why would blacks go out and suppress Asian history? No, let it come forth. Learn from it. We kind of don't do that. So people are treated unfairly. And like I said, it rubs off into our industry, or our former industry, in basketball officiating. And we see it. And like I said, it's comes to how officials, how coaches, how administrators, how supervisors treat their officials of color. What I've seen, we've been treated differently in most cases. Some deserve, some very undeserved. But this is what's happening to us. We're getting to a point to where we want to hold back, suppress, and not let people move forward. And as long as we do that, the whole system will just go backwards. Plain and simple. And I'll leave it at that. It's just, you got to be fair, and you can't suppress the truth, basically. And that's what is happening today. The truth is being suppressed, and as long as it is, it will continue until not the people that are being suppressed step up, the people that see the oppression or suppression, that you step out and make voice to it. Your voice may not move the wheel, but your voice moves the emotion. It moves content. It moves the fact that something can be done because it's a different voice being heard. And I'll leave it at that. We just need to move forward. We need to get better than what we're doing that right now.
Well, like I said, I'm glad I found out about this, and I thought about it last night. And I said, there's somebody that I'm missing. Somebody that I'm missing. And sometimes, and I'm guilty of it, sometimes you got to go back and turn the pages. For Black History Month, today's the last day of Black History Month. Mr. Jimmy Howe should be honored. He worked 1973-74 national championships. He worked the Final Four in 1978 and 81. Well, that's it. Teddy Podcast is now going off. If you got any questions, please send us questions to tv-teddy.com. If we use one of your questions, we'll send you a hat or a shirt. We thank you very much for being with us. And as my good friend Wendell Daniels, we're signing off till next time. See ya.